It is now time for oral questions. I recognize the member for Kiiwetinoong.
Miigwech, Speaker. Speaker, this week the Chiefs of Ontario released their Ontario-specific Closing the Infrastructure Gap report. The report stated that it will cost $59 million to ensure infrastructure and First Nations are on par with the rest of the province by 2030. The gap is one of the widest in Canada. If these gaps aren't closed, First Nations health and well-being will continue to fall behind. Is Ontario going to continue to grow its wealth at the expense of First Nations who continue to go without? Yes or no?
Minister of Northern Development, Minister of Indigenous Affairs.
Well, of course, the answer is no, Mr. Speaker, and we look forward to the opportunity to move forward on a number of key infrastructure projects, especially with those with respect to isolated remote First Nations communities. This member knows that we have met in the past couple of weeks alone with key leadership in communities and on behalf of Indigenous organizations in NAN territory about road access that would allow and provide for the province to develop other legacy infrastructure into the north. The electrification, getting communities off diesel, building bridges so that we can have communities access places like Red Lake and come down to the southern part of Northern Ontario for other programs and services and create better access into the north. Those are the things, Mr. Speaker, that we're interested in working on, and I've heard from Indigenous leadership across Northern Ontario that this is the right way to go. The question is, will the member support those initiatives?
And the supplementary question.
Speaker, in Ontario, $26 billion is needed to close the housing gap in First Nations. Speaker, the Snabatsky Nation covers 49 First Nations. They need more than 7,500 homes built now to ensure people are housed. Speaker, I urge Ontario, as a treaty partner, to improve its approach to housing by listening to what is needed and to quit using jurisdiction as an excuse to do nothing. Will this government act, yes or no?
Minister of Indigenous Affairs.
It's unfortunate, Mr. Speaker, that the federal government has not lived up to its infrastructure opportunity in those communities. This isn't about jurisdiction, Mr. Speaker. This is about a commitment from the province of Ontario to build the kinds of roads that can create an opportunity to build state-of-the-art infrastructure in those communities. That's what this is always about. And every time we've tried to have those kinds of discussions with the member opposite, the answer has been, I'm not sure if we can support that. They're in the budget. We've had conversations with Indigenous leadership about building roads. Our winter roads have been compromised, Mr. Speaker, this winter in particular. And it's very clear that First Nations leaderships understand that in order to have state-of-the-art wastewater infrastructure and other essential infrastructure in their communities, they need road access. We're prepared to move on that. The Premier has said that explicitly to Indigenous leadership in the north. Will the member opposite support those initiatives?
The final supplementary.
Speaker, in 2020, the Ontario Auditor General reported that funding of reserve Indigenous housing is cost-shared between Canada and Ontario. What this government has spent on programs for Indigenous off-reserve housing is grossly inadequate. And there is nothing in yesterday's housing bill that addresses this. Speaker, what progress has Ontario made in building the 22,000 affordable units needed to meet the housing needs for Indigenous people living off reserve?
Minister of Indigenous Affairs.
Speaker, in fact, resources for off-reserve housing have increased under this government, Mr. Speaker, and we have some very capable partners across Northern Ontario in particular, and including here in the City of Ontario, who've done a fantastic job of creating off-reserve housing and working in full partnership so that we can accommodate for what is a serious trend, and that is for First Nations people moving off reserves into towns and cities across this province, across Northern Ontario, and here into Toronto. But again, Mr. Speaker, these are pieces that have been in our budget, and every single time that we advance that member opposite and the NDP have voted against it. Do they stand for off-reserve housing or not, Mr. Speaker?
Thank you very much.